There are absolutely, unfortunately, either leaders or collaborators who just want you to be a robot. It doesn't, so if you are selling the non-robot version of you, which is what I want you to be selling, they are not going to buy you if they are just looking for a specific productivity result. Welcome, everybody. It is awesome to see you on this fabulous Friday, and also fabulous to see some familiar faces and some long time no see faces. Gina, it is nice to see you back. I want to hear all the things. Okay, so I know we've got a lot of familiar faces, but I'm going to go through just a reminder of how everything happens. I am Joanna, your ambition guide for this hour and for the future you. And today we are talking about the whole idea that you are actually the CEO, founder, chairman of the board, all of the things of the company known as You Inc. And why do I think that matters? And why is it important, especially if you are trying to figure out how you could be more fabulous in your current role, how you could be more fabulous in a new role, but ultimately, how can you start to make your dreams come true? And instead of, like our friend Cinderella, need to be rescued by a prince, although I could argue that one as well, I'm going to let you rescue yourselves, because I think, especially during this slightly crazy time that we are all living in, that you are probably the best bet that you can make. So what is going to happen today? I actually have today a bunch of questions I'm going to be asking you that when I was out doing research around, well, what are smart questions they ask a CEO? I was like, well, these are the same questions you would ask for yourself. And so I'm going to be going through 7 of them today. And as I go through, and especially as we've got a nice group, if the particular question makes you go, I need to consider this for myself, stick your hand up, because I'd love to have real conversations with real people as we go through the questions. As you know, you do not come to the show for a warm, fuzzy hug. You come to the show for a swift kick in the pants. And I know the fabulous Allison the other day actually got her winning session and got her own swift kick in the pants. But this is what you're coming for, because this movement is what's going to make the change happen. Also, if you have questions or you want to pre-volunteer for stuff, we've got Michelle that way on the screen with me. Say hi, Michelle. Michelle is our new producer at the Amplify Lab. We are super excited to have her as part of the team, and she is doing all of the magic that will happen after the show when we put all of this up on YouTube. So if you want to go back and look at it, that is fine. Last but not least, stick around to the end, because yes, we will, as always, be pulling one name out of the hat for a free 30-minute session with me. Bonus points, starting as of today, winners are going to be getting access to the very new, very exciting Future You assessment tool. Imagine being able to take an assessment that actually starts to talk about the future you. Well, we have finally done it, and I am excited to say that we are going to be starting to roll that out to lots and lots of people. But if you are the winner, you're going to be getting access to that as well, because it helps me do my job better. Last but not least, as always, for those of you that are new to the show, we also will have a challenge at the end of the show that is all done through our little phones and texting. This one's a little bit different from our usual challenging channels. Joanna trying to talk, take 2. Michelle is going to be dropping the link in chat when we get to that point if you are interested in participating. If you're watching on YouTube, of course, you can sign up for the challenge too. We start them on Mondays. They go for a set period of time, and the whole idea is for a little, like, teeny tiny Joanna in your head through your phone, giving you the nudge that I think you might need. Okay, logistics done, let's talk about this whole idea of the future you and why I think you're the CEO of this thing. Because really the first idea, when you think about all of my every decision made about you is made in a room that you're not in. Are you teaching people how to choose you? Why do you collaborate with people? All of these things. The thing that people are choosing and the thing that you are in essence teaching people every time you interact is this future you. Now, yes, are you made up of past you, like what you've done, your accomplishment, your badges, your stickers, all of that sort of stuff? Fantastic. Yes. Are you also made up of what I call present you, which is your personality and how do you play? There's also this concept of future you, and it's the person who can solve problems in the future. And if you're going to get the job, the promotion, the opportunity, and probably most importantly, the point of collaboration, that's the thing they're making a decision on. And for any of you that are like, but my resume really matters and what I've done really matters and all of that sort of stuff, I want you to go think for just a second about your very, very best friend in the whole world. I want you to take away all of this work conversation and think about your bestie. And what is true about your bestie is they are probably not 100% like you. There's probably things that your bestie is really great at and you are not great at, and vice versa. But you are friends because of the ability to do future shenanigans. And that future shenanigans is all based on trust, understanding, and desire for who the other person is going to be in the future. Right? Anybody go, actually, that's not what my bestie is all about? I know I have lots of besties, but that's absolutely, I'm like, there will be fun shenanigans in my future with my besties. Same thing happens at work. If I ask you to go back to that job or that team or that opportunity where you were like, I could do this all day, every day. Like, this is fun. That feeling happens when you have confidence in what it is you have to offer, and you're excited and curious about what you're going to do, and your work besties have confidence in you too and are excited and curious about you too. And you get to that awesome kind of high five, low five moment that you have in the hallway where you have that relationship where you trust that future shenanigans. And shenanigans in this case is solving problems for the customer, solving problems for the company, doing all the things, probably creating things that have never been created before, all have to come with both confidence and curiosity for the future. And so I sit here and I go, I don't know why we still seem to keep obsessing about title and perfection and what we've done and have I got all of the stickers and badges? Because while that absolutely solidifies your reputation, it is not the thing that people are choosing for, because I will also come back to, I have no doubt that your bestie is really awful in some areas. I know my besties are. I'm not going to out them right now, but I'm going to sit here and say there are many things that I'm pretty awful at too, but my friends choose me anyway, because they're like, I got the awful bits, you get the things that you're really fantastic at. And that, when I talk about this whole idea of the future you, is the person that I want you to start teaching, because we have all, and I mean all, doesn't matter what gender, color, what have you, we've all been teaching people about past you, which, by the way, can't be changed and is done. I want you to start teaching about future you. So, okay, so future you is actually a product, and it is your future time. And as the CEO of future you, you are responsible for product and product development, product innovation, marketing, PR, finance, HR, sales, operations, all the things. And I would actually kind of argue that most of us are really, really good at product of the future me operations, but we're pretty stinking awful at absolutely everything else, which is why I want you to step into the role of CEO of you, because the CEO uniquely is responsible for all the things. And if you are thinking about all the things, you can actually take agency over your future. Plus, I do want to remind you that I have yet to meet a CEO who doesn't have a little army of people around them who are really good product innovators, marketers, finance people, HR, sales, whatever the things that you need around you for people to be really good at, like your besties, that help them decide the future vision of the company. So as you are thinking about taking agency of your future and saying, okay, well, hang on a second, what do I want to be next? Whatever that conversation is, remember this journey does not have to be alone, and actually surrounding yourself with people who really understand those other strengths. The way you surround yourself with your besties today is going to help you move forward. Okay, that's the end of my lecture around you are the CEO of the product of you. And I absolutely believe that a little investment there is going to help you move forward in your career and whatever it is that you want to manifest, both for you and for all of the people that you work with. So I talked at the beginning about this idea of like, well, that's awesome. How do you actually start? And so I went out and I said, like, what are the top questions that a CEO should ask themselves? And I went out and did lots of research on like every year, when you're building a company, all of the things. And when I think about the human version of this, you are not a startup. Well, and I'm looking at the age of the people in the room right now. I don't think anybody in here is like maybe a startup, but a startup means you are probably, I don't know, in high school, still trying to figure out like what the heck is next. And you got no money, and you've got no resources, and you've got no network, and you've got none of that sort of stuff, which tells me that you've actually been building the business of future you for a little while now. So you're actually a company who's been doing pretty good and is looking to pivot in this world that we are in right now. And whatever your definition of pivot is entirely up to you, because it might be pivot internally, might be pivot externally. This is why these questions are important. So let me get to the questions. Okay. Oh, you know me, I love to start bold. The one thing question. I want you to ask yourself, what is the one thing that, if accomplished, would have the most significant impact in my future and render the need for seemingly important projects unnecessary? What is the one big thing? Does anybody have an idea around what their one big thing might be? How does everybody feel? Does this one big thing question scare you a tiny bit? Gina, I see you nodding. I see Allison, I see you nodding. Allison, can I pick on you? Only because I know we had a bit of a conversation about this. Yes. I'm curious, since I shouted at you the other day, if you have started to focus the one big thing, like this was in essence what I was asking you the other day. I was like, what is the product that you want to offer to people?
Yeah. I'd say I had subsequent conversations that were, sorry, my kid is demanding I'm handing my kid treats right now through her playpen. So someone sent me a job description for something that made me go, maybe this is it. And then I had a subsequent conversation with Kim Jones, who also was like, that could be it. So maybe that's like a step in the right direction, but I definitely have not identified like one thing. No.
Yeah. Mm-mm. Here's my question for you: as you looked at that job description, what I think my question for you is what was it that lit you up?
I think it was the fact that it really seemed there was a heavy emphasis on cross-departmental strategy. And I think I'm someone that really likes to flex between senior leadership and guiding and navigating through that. So that spoke to me, I think, very strongly. And I don't think I've had that crystal clear feeling before. So that I thought was interesting.
Okay. So thank you for, although your baby is lovely and we'll totally take baby noises on this show. Like, as you're thinking about like, what is that for me? Like, I think like, as much as I think job descriptions are terrible, I also think they're helpful tools in helping you kind of date ideas for yourself. And when you think about that one big thing, you all have a zillion things that you could do all day, every day. Now, Allison has maybe got an opportunity that maybe looks right for her, and she's synthesized the cross-functional, cross-departmental thing that she loves so much. And so in her one big thing, I would sit here and say, like, as Allison, you were looking at your week, your time, as you are navigating your day and what you are teaching people, are you messaging, look at what I've done? Or are you messaging, look at all of the cross-departmental synergies I am creating? And it comes back to this idea of what is it you are teaching people about the future you? And I think for you specifically, you could almost try this on for size and say, like, does this feel authentic to me? Does this feel like I am presenting my very best self without pushing it beyond the point of ridiculousness? And I want to share this idea with everybody of, I believe for all of us, there's this concept I call the fiction line. And the fiction line is the story that you tell about yourself to others that is the story of you. And you want to be right on the fiction line, because tell more of the story and, well, then it becomes a fairy tale and it's not actually real. And, you know, everybody talks about inauthenticity. It's basically inauthentic. If you're telling less than right up to the fiction line, you're actually not presenting the best version of yourself. And, you know, last time I checked, most people wanted like the best version of you, not the maybe sort of kind of best version of you. So if the idea of coming right up to the fiction line and pushing yourself there sounds scary, just remind yourself that if you don't do it, you're actually being kind of selfish. And would you please stop that? Because the people want to meet the best version of you, not the kind of sort of version of you. Okay, next question from my CEO people. We go there. Is my favorite, it's not about you question. So this question was about customers and who is buying the product. And now we're going to come back and say, so who are your ideal prospects and the ones not buying the future you? Is the offer unclear or unappealing? Is it undesirable or uncompetitive? Or am I trying to sell myself to the wrong person? This is probably one of the most powerful, painful questions I have with people all the time when I'm working with them, because they might be standing there saying, I am fantastic. I have all the things. I'm right up against the fiction line. I'm really talking about how amazing I am. And they don't want me to do the things. And I said, well, because they don't want to buy the thing you are offering, right? When you sit here and say this work transaction of you have got to be able to sell your future time to people, other people are going to buy it. If they want to buy a version of you that you do not want to sell, it is going to be not so fun. Like if you think about when that moment I talked about before, when it was awesome and all the good things, what you wanted to sell and what people wanted to buy for you when it talked about this future shenanigans thing was equal. Instead of like, and I see this so very often, somebody who has a manager who wants to keep buying the past them, the person who they were, you know, a couple of years ago. Or, and this one really breaks my heart, when they have a manager who just needs a warm body or somebody to get shit done. Now there's the positive get shit done people, who are the people who don't know how to talk about why you're awesome. And then there's the negative get shit done people who just need you to be a robot. And I have no doubt that everybody on this call has no desire to be a robot. Here's the truth. Nobody wants to be a robot unless you are actively signing up to be a packer at an Amazon warehouse. I think those people are like, you want to hire me as a robot? I get that you want to hire me as a robot. I sign up for that and I will be a robot. and they measure everything and all the things. But if you are in the white collar working world, my guess is you don't want a robot. Decisions are not made in silos. Like, how many of you, and I will totally raise my hand here, have been in a situation where somebody who was a peer to you got promoted and you didn't, and you were like, wait a second, what about me? Like, what the hell, right? We've all had that opportunity. And it's often because the leader didn't come in and go, you know what, there's more people impacted by that singular decision. So really understanding, and this is why I'm throwing these questions at you quickly, but really understanding why somebody wants to buy the future you is probably one of the most important questions you can ask yourself. And doing the analysis and saying, well, hang on a second, am I actually getting objections to this product already? And then overcoming the objections and really thinking about what's in it for them. Because if you can find out what's in it for them, you can figure out what's in it for you. I see some nodding going on. Does anyone want to comment on this one really quickly, or shall I keep trucking forward? I'm going to keep trucking forward because this one's, as I said, there could be an entire show on selling itself. The next question I think is really important as the CEO of the future you is what I call the consideration set. This in the world of product marketing is, are your customers even aware of you? In the world of work and human, you've all heard me say every decision made about you is made in a room that you're not in, which means that the first question there is, are you part of the consideration set? And pro tip here, folks, just because you report into somebody does not mean that they are always talking about you in a room that you're not in. Like, I will give you a tactical example. In my last job, I had at the end of the day about 400 people reporting into me. I worked really, 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 really hard just to remember their first names. But good Lord, 400 first names was really even difficult for me. Then remembering why each person was uniquely awesome also took some extra effort. But I'll tell you, I was absolutely always moving around the cocktail napkins and reorging my team all the time because we needed to. And so it doesn't matter if your team is 10 or 400, are you making sure that the people who are making decisions in the rooms that you are not in are aware that you exist? And if you are not, like, the first way you can find out, like, yes, clearly, technically your boss should know. But like, one of the questions you will hear me ask all the time is to go out and ask your boss, like, how would you describe me to others in a room I wasn't in? Really fast and easy way to find out, how do they actually talk about the product of future you? And if it's not what you want them to be saying, well, the onus is not on them. The onus is on you to teach them the right language. And this is why we have the Future You program and all of these sorts of things, because you can absolutely change that narrative. And do remember that in that every decision made about you is made in a room that you're not in, most of the really interesting opportunities actually happen, I have found, from people other than your boss. And I did an audit of my own career and realized that every single big break I got in my career was because somebody who I didn't report into kind of went, you, here, I want you to do this thing. And you think, so if you're looking for a job, that's absolutely the truth, because there's a bunch of people you don't even know. But if you are within an organization, making sure that people understand how to talk about the future you, not necessarily, and in conjunction what your ambitions are because of that. And note I said it that way. You remember the last thing about sales? I didn't come out and go, I want to be the VP of blah, 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 blah. That's an ambition without thinking about why would they care. How do I want to have more impact in the future? Because and then it helps me with my ambitions is much more a consideration on how do you help them see the potential of the future you, and it puts it in their frame as opposed to somebody else. So my lesson on this one is really think about who are the people I need to teach And am I teaching them? And then last but not least, am I consistently doing so? We have all heard the statistic out there about how, when looking at the gender in the room, the guys ask more. Is it annoying as all hell as a manager that you'll get a guy probably every quarter come up and go, well, when's my next promotion? Yes, totally. It's actually a really good exercise for me as a leader to be able to go, yeah, too bad, so sad. I know you're ticking the box this quarter, coming to have the promotion conversation, but frequency matters because it reminds, it's like sending somebody a follow-up email. It puts the idea back on the top of somebody else's list so that they remember to have you in the consideration set. Frequency matters, and it's figuring out what is the right frequency for the right people when you come back to the it's not about you conversation. Okay, next question is the are you scared question. What are 3 things I haven't started because I'm pursuing perfection? And what is one step I can take today to get the process started? Am I optimizing for productivity or potential? You have all, I hope you have all heard me say this before. But so many people I see are known for getting things done, for being perfect, for making sure everything is all the things. And yes, it is critically important, especially as some of your jobs can have dramatic impact if you are not perfect at what it is you do. However, this is not what you want to be known for. Because if you are known for just being perfect, my guess is there are some jobs out there that just need perfection 24/7, like saving babies and stuff like that. Let's aim for that one. But I would even probably argue that baby saving people aren't perfect 100% of the time. I sit here and I say, why is it you want to be known for something that if you weren't that, you would be fired, right? This is where I come back and say, we are either messaging, look at this perfect thing I've created all the time, which then means people say, oh, Michelle is known as the perfect person, and we'll just give her things to go make it do perfect. Or you're too afraid to step out of your lane and do something where you know you were going to be a complete and utter train wreck, and ergo not stretching yourself, and ergo not giving people the opportunity to see that you can stretch yourself and challenge yourself and maybe make mistakes. Like you're taking one of these 2 paths with this idea of perfection. And one of them is a message to you around, am I needing everything to be perfect because, oh my God, if it's not perfect, then I'm going to freak out? Or are you letting other people take the message of perfection? I just challenge you that yes, perfection and doing your job well and all of that sort of stuff is important, but you also need to message potential, not only for you, but for the people who work with you too, because it's in that messy space of potential that the new ideas happen, that the new opportunities come up, that people get excited and curious, and that people think, oh, now what else could they be doing? And I know that if you're here today, it's because you're like, I want to be doing something else fun and exciting and all of those sorts of things. Okay, I'm going to rattle through all of these and then we're going to come to Q&A because I think we could talk about them. Next question for the CEO of the future you comes back to what I call the boring question. How many of you would say that you are either strategic or creative or a good networker or really good at getting things done or all the things? Lovely, fantastic, beautiful answers, but good God, they are boring. And they're boring because everybody says them. Everybody says them. Doesn't matter. And I think they're actually all true. I think everybody has the capability of being strategic. I think everybody is creative. I think it is the human nature. I think everybody in their own way actually is really great at forming great relationships. And everybody at the end of the day, you're generally fired if you're not, are good at getting things done. And so I sit here and as you think about the product of you, what is unique about it? And if you met yourself, would you be excited and go, oh my God, how interesting is this person? And you're seeing me right now because I've showed up again in my sequins, because this is part of the package of making people go, wait, what is this lady all about? She shows up in sequins with a big orange background and all the things. It's just a visual representation of a bit of a story I'm trying to get people to tell. The boring things matter, but they are not what people are going to remember. And so sit here and again, ask that army of people, the marketing, finance, HR, sales, PR, whatever people who are around you, and say, like, if you can't think about what is the interesting, non-boring thing about you, say, what is it that you think is unique about me? One of the most powerful things you can do on the journey of exploring the product of future you is going out and doing some customer market research. Go ask people who have already purchased you as collaborators, as team members, as vendors, as bosses, as mentors, as sponsors, as all the things. Like, go ask them, what unique thing do you see in me? Now, they're gonna come out, I will warn you, with some kind of generic things to begin with. Although I will also tell you, if you're having any sorts of confidence issues, this is probably one of the best exercises you can do for yourself, because boy, is the feedback awesome. But go out and ask people. And if they give you a kind of a generic answer, then say to them, well, it kind of sounds like everybody else. What is it that you see that is specifically unique? And if they're really still struggling with that, I always ask people to tell me a story. I go, tell me when I was working on a project and you were like, oh, Joanna is killing it. What is it? And have a conversation about you, because this idea of unique language is something that lots of people struggle with, and having a conversation will help you figure out what is in essence the unique thing about you. Moving forward. I don't know how many I'm up on now. This one is a tricky question, because I think we are in flux. This was the modern world question. Is my strategy not working because the strategy is bad, or is it not working because I have no strategy? Am I following the old rules that don't actually work? I am going to talk about this one for just a second, because we live in a world still that believes that your resume, your bio, your LinkedIn profile are actually the things that tell the story of you. They tell a perfectly fine story of the past you. They do not tell the story of the present you. What we are requiring of people when you are helping them understand your potential and the future you is we're requiring people to look at a resume and guess how you might be helpful to them in the future. And I just go, why? Why are we making people guess? That seems insane to me. We don't make people guess how, I will not use that. I'll use my paper letter opener, how a letter opener could be helpful to us. No, we don't come in and say, well, this is made of, I don't know what it's made of, metal of some sort, and it's got a pointy end, which is what your resume does for you. No, we say, if you need a tool that opens envelopes and or stabs people in a pinch, we gotcha. What is that version of, I can't believe I just talked about stabbing. Like, what is that version of you in the contract? Now, does that mean, so the old world is you need to have a resume, you need to have a bio, you need to have all of those sort of things. And yes, well, I am working really hard to make that change. I don't think it's actually going to change in my lifestyle. I'm climbing that mountain for you. Do I think they're going to go away? No. So do you need all of those tools? Absolutely. But if you are relying on those tools, you're actually missing an enormous part of the conversation about the future you, because that conversation is happening in somebody's head and they are making it up as they are going along. So instead of just relying on your resume, and if you haven't seen past shows like I did, I think actually last week was how to explain your brilliant brain with a graphic. Is that right, Michelle? Yes.
Yep, that was it.
Last week was How to Explain Your Brilliant Brain with a Graphic. Go, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch that show. I drew all sorts of pictures that day. Super easy way to teach people about who you are and how you think. As you can see, I'm a big fan of verbal teaching. Coming out and actually saying, hi, I want to help you understand how I think, and talk about it. If you are pivoting your career or trying to step into something new, actually having the conversation with somebody and saying, look, not I want to do X job and this is why I'm awesome, because that just talks about past you. Talk about, my guess is for X job, you need somebody who can do A, B, and C. And in being able to do A, B, and C, they solve 1, 2, and 3 questions. Am I right? Stop talking for a second and find out if they agree with you. Because by the way, if they don't, you've got that whole, it's not about you, it's about them. Remember at the beginning, one of my earlier questions? If they come back and go, yes, then you can come back and say, well, guess what? I am really good at A, B, and C. And here's how I would apply it to problems 1, 2, and 3. Don't you want me for that opportunity? Super easy connection between the two. I know in reality, it's actually much harder and you're doing it in an interview and somebody's asking all the crazy questions. But if you think about these frameworks, as you are teaching people how you think and what you do, it'll start to make more sense. Watch more of the shows. I talk about this incessantly. Okay, enough with the old framework. It's time for you to move into the modern one, because then you can take your own challenges. I'm going to look to see if yes. Last question is what I call the brave question. And I left this one in here because it's the question I asked myself when I ended what was my last big career move and said, whoa, what am I going to do now? And I asked myself, knowing what I know now, if I could start all over again, what changes would I take in my career? What would I do differently? How would I show up? What are all the things that I could do? And what's preventing me from doing that today? Now, I can't answer the question of what that is for you because it is unique and bespoke to you. But really sitting down and saying, okay, I've got years of experience that I could tap into to think about, if I had the opportunity to create it again, what would I create? And it is one of the most powerful conversations you can have with yourself around, in essence, which is the big CEO question, what is the mission, vision, values of the company of you? When you think about the team of your organization and when you think about the product it is that you want to sell, really coming back to those basics of who is it I actually want to be is actually, I think, the first question you should be asking. And yes, I left it at the end, but I think it's the important first one. And really think about, like, what is the product? Why are people going to care? Like, what is it that is uniquely me? And how do I take that forward? Understanding that while you are the CEO of the future you for life, the product doesn't have to be a life sentence. You can reinvent the product anytime you want. And I actually believe that a reinvented product that taps into past you is actually a better product for everybody and is one of the most generous things that you can do. So those are all of my questions for this week. Again, I'm going to remind you that these questions are also super powerful to ask with other people, because this is where the magic happens. You have a lot of people around you who could help you with how to describe your potential, how to describe the value of your product, help you not be boring, help you not be scared. I so often find that we take this path as a solo journey, and the reality is it doesn't need to be. So speaking of which, you could go on this journey with me. So as if you are new to this, we now do challenges with people who come to our show or watch this on YouTube. This challenge, however, is a little bit different. Normally our challenges are 2 weeks and we're going to have 6 texts and it'll all be done. We're actually going to challenge you every week with a question that associates with every single one of the questions that I asked you today. Each challenge should only take about 10 minutes of your time. We're going to send them out every Friday instead of every Monday, so that you have something to think about over the weekend. We're going to ask you a question. Yes, I'm on the other side. We're going to send them out and actually look at that. I just got a text back from somebody from another challenge. I do respond if you respond, unless you just want to get the challenges, and that's absolutely fine. We also guarantee that if you stick it through all the way to the end, and because we're doing 1 a week on Fridays, this is going to be a 7-week challenge. We guarantee that at the end of the 7 weeks, if you participate and do the things, that you will have a moment where you go, oh, hang on a second, and you will be able to take agency over the future you. We have had big donut of refunds so far on that, so I'm going to continue on this path. If you are interested in signing up, the investment to do so is a whopping $10 to get your 7 texts and to have me behind the scenes chatting backwards and forwards with you on your challenges. So if you'd like to participate there, Michelle should have dropped the link in chat for you can sign up. It will also be in the follow-up email. But ultimately on all of this, I do challenge you to think about yourself as a company. Think about the product that you are offering to people, because it comes, again, I come back to when you are clear about the product and its value to others, it makes it easier for people to choose you. And that's when future shenanigans becomes fun.